We're at the end of this journey, and we've learned a ton in our almost 20 episode series. And we've opened our safe lock with 2 methods. On this installment, we're going to look back at our videos and quickly summarize each of them. I hope you can treat this as an index or a table of contents to quickly find something you're looking for. Let's get started. The first video started our journey into the world of safe cracking, or more accurately named, safe manipulation. In the introduction, we talked about how these locks are delightfully elegant mechanical marvels. The design is basically unchanged for 150 years. The course is subtitled The Blastastic Journey because just spinning that dial can be meditative and relaxing. I can enter a state of flow, energized, fully involved, and enjoying what I'm doing. Time flows by, and I have a rich engagement in the present moment. There are other safe manipulation YouTube videos, but I wanted this course to be a bit more in-depth in the manipulation process and go into skills and processes in a lot more detail. With over 5 hours of video, I think I've gone a little overboard in detail. I hope that's okay. I'm also trying to make the videos to be experiential, and I'm hoping to make some ASMR-like videos involving safe manipulation. Stay tuned for those. In part 2, we discussed safe manipulation ethics. Please don't manipulate a safe that isn't owned by you or in use. Check your local laws. We also looked at different safe types and lock types. We found that it's much faster to physically enter a safe than to manipulate the lock. That's why thieves don't manipulate. And with information already available online, I don't think I'm doing anyone a disservice with this course. In part 3, we really dove into looking at how the Group 2 safe lock works. These really are mechanical marvels, and we looked into how marvelous they are. We looked at all the parts and open lock several times, paying close attention to the actions of the 3 main components: the dial spindle and cam component, then the wheel pack component, and finally the lever and bolt component. I think this is a great video that really looks into depth about all the lock components and building up how they work together. After watching this video, I hope you have an appreciation for all the creativity that went into designing and creating these locks. We then look at a few special in-depth topics on some of the lock's components. In the first special video topic, we discussed the relocker, which is an ingenious security mechanism that prevents the lock from being opened if it's being damaged. The fly, we talked about how the wheels get picked up by the driver pins and the movable fly. This allows for accurate dialing and allowing 2 numbers in the combination to be close together. And finally, the forbidden zone. The final number in the combination cannot be between the contact points, or the lock will seize and malfunction. One of the great features of a Group 2 lock is that there's an ingenious way for the combination to be changed. In this video, we looked at the process of how the change works and also the mechanics involved in unlocking the wheels so the gate locations can be moved. In the fourth part, things get really interesting. We move to a subtle design weakness. We can measure the height of the fence on top of the wheel pack just by measuring the contact points. In general, low points on the wheel pack indicate the location of one of the gates. This video concentrates on why this works and the 2 required skills. First, being able to dial repeatedly to the edge of the contact point. And second, being able to accurately read the dial's number. I introduced my way of reading the dial, which is taping a piece of thin wire to the dial and having it point to a millimeter ruler. With this configuration, it's pretty trivial to read an accuracy of 1/10 of a number. The key skill to master is with practice, 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 is to place the dial right at the edge of the contact point. Then there's 3 special topic videos that go into details on a few other techniques necessary to do the manipulation. 4B gives an example of scanning the wheel pack. We go around the dial, making a measurement of the height of the wheel pack above the fence by measuring the location of the right sloped contact point. We do this as we go all the way around the dial. 4C shows a very simple process called amplification. Once we've found a potential gate location, we do more measurements around it and try to determine the exact middle of the gate. 4D introduces and shows a high-low test. Once we've found a gate on the wheel pack, we need to figure out which of the wheels that gate is on. The high-low test lets us do that. In essence, we put the potential wheels over the gate and then move one of the wheels off the gate. If it's the wrong wheel, then the wheel pack height doesn't really change. However, if it's the correct wheel, the one with the gate, then the wheel pack height will increase because the gate's no longer under the fence. Simple and effective. The fourth part talked about the basic principles of manipulation and the skills and techniques involved. Part 5 looks at the entire manipulation process involved to open the safe. First, we use an all wheels left scan to find a gate, amplify around it, and then use the high-low test to determine which wheel the gate is a part of. Next, we hold the wheel over that gate while we scan the other two wheels to find another low point. We amplify and use a high-low test to determine which wheel the second gate is part of. Finally, we do a brute force search for the final number and open the lock. I also provide 6 other special topics to help explain the process. "5A introduces graphing, which is a great visual way to look at the data you've created. I don't typically graph while I'm scanning, but many people do. I just write down the number, and then, if I need to, I use a computer program like Excel or Google Docs to create the graph for me. For most Group 2 locks, you don't need to graph. "5B looks at some example gate signatures both graphically and with the underlying numbers. Most gates will look like a sudden lowering of the wheel pack, followed very soon by a sudden heightening of the wheel pack. However, it can get a bit more complicated than that. 5C looks at what to do if you can't find a gate signature. During your manipulation, you might not find a nice gate signature because the gates are being shadowed by other wheels. There are a few techniques you can try when this happens, and we introduce the wheel isolation technique. 5D looks at what to do if your high-low test isn't giving you good results. We give a few suggestions for changing the technique, plus this can be an indication to relook at your data for not so obvious gate signatures elsewhere. 5E looks at right clockwise versus left counterclockwise dialing. In part 3, we saw a special topic on the fly, which helps to minimize this problem. However, the fly isn't perfect, and when you enter a combination in the wrong direction, for example, the second number in a left rotation instead of the correct right rotation. When this happens, the wheels are not in the same location as dialing in the other direction. 5F. Finally, we look at effective dialing. By dialing effectively, we can really speed up the manipulation process and cause less errors. We look at 6 specific types of dialing: holding a single wheel still while doing a scan with the other 2 wheels, and holding 2 of the wheels still and scanning with a single wheel. These dialing techniques are used when we're finished determining our first gate and with an all. Finally, we're in part 6, and we're doing a full manipulation of the lock. We go right through the manipulation showing the scans, amplifications, and high-low tests that we outlined in part 5's manipulation process. And in the end, we get the lock open. In part 6B, we use the wheel isolation technique to do the manipulation. We'll only find the first 2 gates, and we don't show the brute force opening scan, which is the same as in the previous one. The wheel isolation technique isn't recommended for beginners, but I've shown it as an alternative opening strategy. I really hope you enjoyed this course and will be joining me in the manipulation community. Please like and subscribe and leave me a message. I would really appreciate it. Stay tuned for some more sample manipulations.